Well, welcome everybody. Croeso mawr. Welcome to our carol concert, a bit of a different one this year, but that's okay. We're here to celebrate Christmas together. And of course, while we've lost the excitement of having it in the garden, we have gained the pleasure of having people here who would not otherwise be able to join us. So that's super. I'm going to let Paula do the proper welcome later, but if we could just all light our candles at this point. So if you've got a candle, I invite you to light it. I have my 4 Advent candles here. Now I'm going to experiment with turning off my light, see if I can still see my script. I think so. Okay. It's a bit too bright though, isn't it? Let's try that. No, that's still bright. Okay. Just have a moment of quiet. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, upon them a light has shined. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God and Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. I'm going to hand over to Paula for the welcome now, but before I do that, Ollie, I realised you can't spotlight people who have got my PowerPoint running, so sorry about that. Paula.
No, I really don't mind not being spotlighted, that's fine. A warm welcome to you all, croeso I chi I gyd. Now, it's a shame we aren't in the garden. Well, it isn't really, because it's absolutely chucking it down with rain. And Linda Johnson is right. I did order a slight sort of smattering of snow, but it hasn't really turned out like that. But there we are. I'm sure we'll have a blessing tonight anyway. So it's a lovely welcome to you all. Rosa also mentioned that we've gained more people. And actually, I recognise one Justine Morgan from the band. And we seem to have 2 Rosa Hunts. We have a Paula Hughes, who was actually Sheila. And well, there's all sorts of things going on, but it's lovely to see you all. Well, I think that's all for the announcements, except to say, don't forget, Christmas Day. We'll be having our service on Zoom at 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, if you're unsure of the Zoom code for that, just get in touch with me and I can give you that on Sunday morning or before if you prefer. So that's 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then on Sunday the 27th, again on Zoom, we'll be having, Alan Davis is leading worship, and that's on Sunday the 27th. And I think that's just a bilingual service, or it'll be one service, sorry, and that will be at 10:30, so Sunday at 10:30 on the 27th, okay? So back to Rosa.
Diolch, Paula. We're going to carry on with a prayer now, which hopefully will appear on your screen. And so I invite you, if you wish, to say this prayer together. Loving God, we come to hear again the familiar story and to sing the familiar songs. Break through our cozy celebration that we might recognize your voice and heed your call. Amen. Now, this is quite a technologically dependent session, so I do hope everything goes well. I'm actually just checking. I'll just make sure that I have shared my sound, because yep, that should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to play a video now. Daniel, I'm relying on you. If you can't hear it, message me. Here we go. Oh, come all ye faithful. This is our favorite, our first hymn. So please, please, please sing along, but ideally muted. Sing as loud as you possibly can. But if we don't mute ourselves, then there's going to be a lot of cacophony. So please sing along. If I could ask Helen, please, to read our first reading, which is Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38. Mary hears that she's going to have a baby. Thank you, Helen. Sorry, Ollie, it's Helen Hutchings. There's two Helens here.
Okay. Ready?
My fault.
In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to a town in Galilee named Nazareth. He had a message for a girl promised in marriage to a man named Joseph, who was a descendant of King David. The girl's name was Mary. The angel came to her and said, "Peace be with you. The Lord is with you and has greatly blessed you." Mary was deeply troubled by the angel's message, and she wondered what his words meant. The angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Mary. God has been gracious to you. You will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will make him king as his ancestor David was, and he will be the king of the descendants of Jacob forever. His kingdom will never end." Mary said to the angel, "I am a virgin. How then can this be?" The angel answered, "The Holy Spirit will come on you, and God's power will rest upon you. For this reason, the Holy Child will be called the Son of God. Remember your relative Elizabeth. It is said that she cannot have children, but she herself is now 6 months pregnant, even though she is very old, for there is nothing that God cannot do." "I am the Lord's servant," said Mary. "May it happen to me as you have said." And the angel left her.
Thank you, Helen. We're now going to sing our next carol. Now, this time you really are going to have to sing along because there are no vocals. Anne very kindly recorded the backing track of the organ in the chapel yesterday or Monday. And so that's what we're going to have. But that's great because what that means, of course, is that you can choose which language to sing along in. It's going to be Away in a Manger. So hopefully you'll know the words in English, but the words in Welsh are going to shortly appear on your screen. Here we are. I orwedd mewn preseb, roedd creuwr y byd. Nid oedd ar ei gyfer na gwely na chryd. A ser oedd yn syllu ar dlws baban maer, yn cysgu yn dawel ar wely o wair. So, whichever language you want to sing in, and make me sure I mute myself, otherwise it won't be nice for you. It's quite quiet, I'm afraid. We couldn't get it any louder, but you should be able to hear the organ if you listen carefully. And there's no intro, goes straight into the first verse. Da iawn bawb. Well done, everybody. We're going to have our second reading now. Ein hael darlleniad, bydd Emma yn darllen. So Emma's going to read to us. She's going to read in Gymraeg, but I'm going to put the words in Saesneg, in English on the screen, so you'll be able to understand what she's saying. So if you just give me a chance, I will start sharing again. And Ollie, in the meantime, could you please highlight Johan ac Emma? Diolch. Oops, hang on. No, I've done that wrong. I'll do that again. Here we go. Right. Diolch, Emma.
Tua'r un adeg, dyma Caesar Augustus yn gorchymyn cynnal cyfrifiad drwy'r ymerodraeth Rufeinig I gyd. Hwn oedd y cyfrifiad gyntaf cafodd ei gynnal cyn bod Cyrenius yn llywodraethwr Syria. Roedd pawb yn mynd adre i'w trefi lle cawsom nhw ei geni I gofrestru ar gyfer y cyfrifiad. Felly, gan fod Joseph yn perthyn i'r deulu Brenin Dafydd, gadawodd Nazareth yn Galilea a mynd I gofrestru yn Judea ym Bethlehem, hynny ydy tref Dafydd. Aeth yno gyda Mair oedd yn mynd I fod yn wraig iddo, ac a oedd erbyn hynny'n disgwyl babi. Tra iddyn nhw yno, daeth yr amser i'r babi cael ei eni, a dyna lle cafodd y phlentyn cyntaf ei eni, bachgen bach. Dyma hi'n lapio cadachau geni yn ofalus amdano, a'i osod I orwedd mewn cafn ar gyfer bwydo anifeiliaid. Doedd dim llety iddyn nhw aros ynddo.
Fab. Diolch, Emma. Diolch yn fawr. So, we're going to sing O Dawer Dinas Bethlehem now, O Little Town of Bethlehem. The words are in English on the screen. Of course, if you want to sing along in Welsh, that's absolutely fine. A little bit different this time. We have a one-man brass band accompaniment. I saw a lot of good singing going on, even though I couldn't hear it. So well done, everybody. Well, there's been a lot of call this year, hasn't there, for the government to cancel Christmas. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that doesn't make sense. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm fully behind the government restrictions, obviously, and I'm horrified by the rise of COVID cases in Wales, as I'm sure we all are. And of course, that's why we're having this on Zoom this year. But for me, cancelling the Christmas celebrations is not the same as cancelling Christmas. I know some people who every year try to cancel their birthdays. For one reason or another, they don't want to celebrate their birthday. But even if I were to say in 2021, I want to cancel my birthday this year, it wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference to the fact that on the 2nd June of 1969, a baby girl was born to Mary and Joseph. Yes, those are actually my parents' names. In the Blue Sisters Hospital in St. Julian's in Malta. And of course, even though I'm just an ordinary person, the world will never be quite the same again because of that birth. And the same is true of everyone. For one thing, our 4 wonderful sons would never have been born. And who knows what they in turn will go on to do to change the world. So I can cancel my birthday celebrations, but I can't cancel the fact of my birthday and the fact that it has changed the world. And of course, it's the same with Christmas. Christmas, for Christians at least, is the celebration of a birthday, the birth of God himself as the man Jesus over 2,000 years ago. And what a phenomenal impact that life has had. It's true that sometimes Christianity has perverted the teachings of Jesus about hope and joy and love and forgiveness, and some terrible things have been done in God's name. But whenever people have been faithful to Jesus, we have seen transformation. We have seen slaves set free, people healed, schools and hospitals built, food banks set up, segregation ended, and people living lives that are forgiven and healed. Did you know, for instance, that Edward Jenner, the man who invented the vaccine, saw his scientific work as a way of following Jesus? Jenner saw his discovery of the smallpox vaccine as a gift from God. He was a really keen and devout Christian. Some days before his death, Jenner said to a friend, "I'm not surprised that men are not grateful to me, but I wonder that they're not grateful to God for the good which he has made me the instrument of conveying to my fellow creatures." And his contemporary, Rabbi Israel Lipschitz, wrote that Jenner was one of the righteous of the nations, deserving a lofty place in the world to come for having saved millions of people from smallpox. And of course, with COVID, the world once again has cause to give thanks to God for the intelligence and the creativity of people like Jenner. Now, in Advent 1943, the German Christian Dietrich Bonhoeffer was in prison, having been implicated by the Nazis under suspicion, having been imprisoned by the Nazis under suspicion of implication in a plot against Hitler, an imprisonment which would cost him his life. And that Advent, at war with Germany, I need to stop reading my script and doing stuff on the screen at the same time. That Advent, with Germany at war with the Allies and so much surrounding him on both sides, so much suffering surrounding him on both sides of the war, Bonhoeffer reflected on this painting, which I hope you can now see on your screens, by Albrecht Altdorfer. And what this painting shows is Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, but not in an old-fashioned stable, but rather in the ruins of a building, just like the bombed-out ruins which lined the streets of so many European countries at the time. And I don't know what that painting makes you feel, but what Bonhoeffer said about it was this. He said, perhaps the artist meant that Christmas could and should be kept in such conditions. So in a stable, in a country under Roman occupation, in a tumble-down farm building like the one you can see on your screens, in a Nazi prison in 1943, or in Wales, devastated by COVID in 2020, indeed the whole of the UK, Christmas is to be kept. It may not be celebrated as we wish it to be, but it is to be kept. It is not to be cancelled. It can't be cancelled. Even this year, we gather together over Zoom to keep Christmas, to remember that over 2,000 years ago, a baby was born. And the significance of that birth can't be overstated, because unlike me, Jesus was no ordinary person. That birth means the offer of life and freedom and hope to me and you. C.S. Lewis, the person who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, once said, "The birth of Christ is the central event in the history of Earth, the very thing the whole story has been about." And that's a good quote, but actually it's not my favorite C.S. Lewis quote about Christmas. My favorite C.S. Lewis quote is this, and I'll finish with it. "Once in our world, a stable had something in it that was bigger than our whole world." And as we bear that in mind, let's sing our next carol, which is that wonderful carol, "We Three Kings of Orient Are." Just mute myself to save you pain. There we go.
Feel that fountain more and mountain following yonder star. O star of wonder, star of light, star with
That was the choir of King's College, Cambridge. I'm afraid I can't claim that was Salem's choir, though I'd very much like to. Okay, Jenny is going to read for us. Thank you, Jenny, from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 12, the visit of the wise men.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet was written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Thanks, Jenny. That's great. We're going to sing our final hymn now, which is Silent Night. And again, this is just going to be instrumental. So again, thank you to Anne for recording this. So please feel free to sing along in whichever language you prefer. So in a moment, we're going to have our final blessing, which will also appear on the screen. We'll be able to read it together if you wish. And perhaps we might unmute ourselves for that, even though it'll be quite cacophonous. That's fine. It'll be good. It will sound good together. However, before we do that, I just wanted to say a few things. So first of all, thank you to those who helped me put this together at rather short notice. Francis, thank you for all your super technological help in boosting the tracks and stripping video from things and doing stuff I don't really understand, but it was all very clever. So thank you. Thank you to Ollie for your fantastic technological help this evening. Thank you to Anne for recording the tracks beforehand. Thank you to the 3 people who read so beautifully as well. Also, at this time of year, in this service, normally I would give presents to some really key people in the church who work so hard all year long as volunteers. And actually, there are probably too many to name. And I hope that you all know that you're really loved and appreciated. I want to say a special thank you to all my trustees who've been such a fantastic help and support, and to John Birch, my colleague, the other minister of Salem. What a fantastic person to work with, a man of prayer. And of course, you won't forget Emma and her team of volunteers who run the food bank for Salem. But there are 3 people who perform very particular roles, and I wanted to say thank you tonight. So Margaret, thank you. And thank you to Andrea as well for your hard work in making sure that we run all the finances of Salem well, and that we don't mess up, and that everything's legal, and that we don't buy things we can't afford, and so on, and that we give away money. Actually, you keep an eye on that and make sure that we're faithful in giving away some of the money that we have, and that's really important. So thank you. And then to Anne. Anne, you've just been amazing in all the services that you've played for this year, and we want to say a special thank you to you for that. And Anne and Leslie, you've worked really, really hard this year for the Christmas festival, so thank you. There's so many other people as well. Carol, who's so faithful in looking after the kitchen side of things, and really every single one of the trustees deserves an individual mention, but I think the person I'm going to finish with has got to be Paula. Paula, you're not just a church secretary, you are everybody's friend in the church. You pray for people, you care about everyone, you work so hard, and you've just been a really good friend to me. So thank you. I wish I could hand over the gift from the church to you myself personally now, but hopefully it will appear magically through your letterbox some point if it hasn't already done so. So thanks to everyone for being such a fantastic group of volunteers. Salem obviously couldn't do all the things that it does in the community without you. So we're going to end with a final prayer, and if I've forgotten anyone, I'm really sorry, because I do love and appreciate you all, so I'm going to say that right now, because I probably have. Here's a prayer on the screen, the final benediction. So unmute yourselves and let's all say this. May the love of God enfold. Oh, hang on, it's not on the screen. You and you. There we go. It's on the screen now. Okay. May the love of God enfold us. The joy of Christ encompass us, and the Holy Spirit fill us with hope, night and Amen. Amen. There we are. Thank you, everybody. Well done. Happy Christmas. And like Paula says, if you want to join us on Christmas Day at 6 o'clock for a half-hour service, you're really welcome. And you can ask me or Paula for the details or get them from our website. Thank you.
Rosa.
Yeah.